Happened in the 90s.
We're just suckers for those damn special episodes, man. You know, whether it's child abuse, alcoholism, drug abuse, or, a cult, joining a cult where you're trying to save your kid from a diddler.
They
We
covered it
just,
all.
re-
Maybe some
yeah,
drugs too, Steve. Throw a little pot or a little blocaine in there too.
on a very special episode of Happened in the 90s, we're going to talk about other very special episodes. And, some of these episodes we've actually covered. We're just suckers for those damn special episodes, man. Whether it's child abuse, alcoholism, drug abuse, or, a cult, joining a cult where you're trying to save your kid from a diddler.
They
We
covered it
just,
all.
re-
Maybe some
yeah,
drugs too, Steve. Throw a little pot or a little blocaine in there too.
yeah. And like we just recently covered one of them, man. The Boy Meets World cult fiction, season 4, episode 21, where was it Mr. Mac, Jerry Levine, Teen Wolf's buddy, was trying to incorporate
Stop fucking
Sean.
Styles, dude. He stopped hanging out with Teen Wolf. Just fucking started a cult, dude.
And we did the Captain Planet. They considered this a very special episode, and like most of their episodes, I consider kind of very special. But the mind pollution, it's from season 2. We covered that. Or Linka visits, or Boris, Linka's cousin Boris comes to America and visits, and immediately he gets hooked on that stuff.
He's just a sweet Russian boy, Steve. He didn't know. These American drugs that they got. I mean, they're just too. It's designer. It's cool.
And then who can forget the Saved by the Bell Jesse song? I'm so that's one of the Mike the ones. That's one of the very special ones of the very specials.
There was a few of those on Saved by the Bell. I mean, I don't know if you count it, but like Kelly's dad losing his job, and not being poor basically, and having
Yeah,
a
that's
poor
common.
prom. I guess that's kind of a very special one that I want to call out. That shocked me at the time because it was like a tease. They teased it like the week leading up, but when JTT got the goiter that they thought was cancer in Home Improvement, I don't know if you remember that one.
I do remember.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
remember Tim being like, "My son, the goiter," or like he was just trying to like put some levity to it, but JTT wasn't really in that kind of a mood. Steve, goiter
Uh,
life.
and how can I also forget the Smart Guy episode that we covered, where the guy is trying to show them how to make like their own video game. So he invites them over to his basement after school. Like,
Oh yeah, dude. What about that episode of Salute Your Shorts where Donkey Lips rapes Sponge? You
I don't
didn't
think we
see
covered that.
that?
No, we totally didn't. Um, yeah, I don't know how that got greenlit.
Yeah, it's definitely surprised me. That one came out of nowhere. It got real dark there at Camp Adawada, but we were
Hey,
here for
Sputnik, spread those butt cheeks. Dan Schneider wrote that one.
it. Talk about Ugg. Ew. I don't
Hey,
know,
Budnick.
Steve. You had to have a serious episode, though. You had to. If there was definitely some things. I think I even remember this wasn't the '90s, but I remember like there was an episode of 21 Jump Street where they covered the AIDS epidemic, where a kid in the high school that they were jump streeting into had AIDS. Nobody wanted to share his milk, including Johnny Depp's character. And at the end of it, Johnny Depp's brings on, I forget who it was. I think it was C. Everett Koop. It was like a national scientist to just
Yeah.
sort of have like a sit down and talk about AIDS a little bit. I definitely remember that one.
Everyone at the time needed to sit down and talk about AIDS. But speaking of AIDS, we actually did cover a very special episode also recently with Different World. Gina, damn, Gina, you got the
AIDS!
monster.
Damn! Yeah, I forgot, Steve. It is a different world, and Queen Latifah is out here just settling scores, making people understand that everyone has something that they got to go through, and it's this isn't what you think,
Where
okay?
you get where you getting Queen Latifah and, like from Tisha Campbell, man? Get your
I'm
black
talking.
actresses
She was
together.
the teacher. She was the
Whoopi
teacher.
Goldberg was the teacher.
God damn it!
The hell is wrong with you, man?
I took a couple too many hits, Steve. I'm fucking putting a bunch of shit together. I apologize, but that was a touching episode, and probably of AIDS episodes, that's got to be the most memorable for me. That and 21 Jump Street, but yeah, clearly I'm racist, Steve. That's basically all it is.
You're just not well versed. That's all. Two completely different people. Whoopi Goldberg don't even rap. But anyways,
You don't know
I forgot
that.
Rock.
You don't know that.
She is from New York. Maybe she does have bars. But I forgot about the Rock episode we covered. That was a very special episode. The brother from Sandlot got smoked.
Oh yeah, where the fucking shots pop off and that's it.
Yeah.
What was he a thug? What like I don't remember like the whole thing about that. I just remember they were like protect. Oh, that's what it was. It was the daughter that was in the house. She was hanging out with that guy. Turns out he was into some shit. He gets killed, almost gets them killed, and it's a whole shebang. Yeah. Yeah, that one was intense though. You didn't expect to see some bullets flying through the front door on that one. I definitely didn't.
And I swear, we're like lawyers after car accidents when it comes to those very special episodes. Oh, that's on the list. We got to do it. And today, man, we're talking about, in my opinion, the GOAT, the very special, the most special of special episodes.
I mean, I would say for 90s kids, this has to be in the top 3 at least. I can't think of anything more. This made me hate somebody for the rest of my life that has no business being hated on. And just that last line and that last embrace, Steve, man on man love like that, pause. I read some shit also about that, just like on the M-dubs, that almost made me feel it a little bit more, that we'll get into, Steve.
I almost wanted to wear my glasses on this episode to hide the tears, because it's some heart pullers.
Both. I mean, even the other shit that we're talking about, Steve. I mean, they got me. I couldn't help it. I was up in my bedroom alone, just weeping openly.
Chris Christopherson, Jesus, give me the answers.
Leslie.
Please. Big Lebowski, Jesus. Well, hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Gangstar CDs and your Quantum Leap DVDs, because if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see it's Matthew G and Stephen G, and the podcast name is Happened in the 90s, my friend. Dun, dun, dun.
That was fucking fire. Put that, record that, Steve. It is. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm an idiot. It's on wax.
It's on the body cam. Well, today, my friend, we're talking about all things May 9th. In the 90s, correct. Starting off in 1991, after being diagnosed with inoperable pancreatic cancer, Michael Landon appears as a guest on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. He would later succumb to that disease 7 weeks later at the age of 54.
Luckily, he was already very familiar with the highway to heaven. He's just been on it for quite some time. So he's up there, Steve, looking down. I never was into Michael Landon. I just got to say, rest in peace. The man was a legend. Obviously, cancer. I just hate to hear that. I had cancer, whatnot. But I always didn't like him because I hated when Little House on the Prairie would come on. And Highway to Heaven, to be honest with you, because it just meant that what I was watching was over with and something boring was coming on.
But what I liked him in better than all those other ones was Bonanza, which precursed all of those. I think that was from like the 50s or 60s. And they would play Bonanza in Sandusky like in the afternoon, like right at noon. And then after that, it's time for the cartoons.
So
in the
that was
double
like
dare.
that was the prequel. That was the pre-cum for the blast.
Basically,
Okay.
yeah.
Bum, ba, 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 bum, ba. Bum, ba, 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 ba.
R.I.P. Michael Landon. But that
Yeah.
following year, 1992, Golden Girls is airing season 7, episode 26, One Flew Out of the Cuckoo's Nest. The series finale, as Dorothy and Lucas prepare to get married, they try to persuade Sophia to come live with them in Atlanta.
Yeah. So this is part two of a two-part storyline here, which I love. Part one, I almost like a little bit more because it didn't make me cry, and just thought it was a cool story. But just to recap that episode, um, Blanche wants to get laid, but has an uncle that's coming into town that she's gonna have to hang out with if she can't find somebody to pawn him off on. So she pawns him off on Dorothy, who's, she's single. She's not ready to mingle, though. But Dorothy reluctantly, very reluctantly, agrees to go out with Uncle Lucas. Uncle Luke for short, not the one you're thinking of. And turns out Uncle Lucas is one and only Leslie Nielsen from Naked Gun fame and many more things. Uh, Uncle Lucas comes from money, got money, goes on a blind date with Dorothy. Turns out, after Dorothy's like, "This is stupid. I'm not into this. I don't want to be around you. This was all a sham. I hate blind dates." We find out that Blanche basically two-timed both these people and told them that each person they were going to hang out with was pathetic. They didn't have anybody to hang out with. Just like sort of guilt tripped them into hanging out and going on this blind date. So Leslie and Dorothy are like, you know what we ought to do? Just fuck with Blanche a little bit. Let's tell her we're getting married and really lay it on thick. So they basically hoodwink Blanche into thinking that Dorothy and Lucas, Uncle Lucas, are going to get married. So Blanche throws a fit. Not only does she not want to be married or blood like tied in family with Dorothy and her gross Italian blood, uh, she's gonna lose some stake in the family money and whatnot. But in this prank, Steve, Uncle Lucas and Dorothy, they actually fall in love in a real way. This prank brings them together. At the end of the first episode, they see that Blanche is having she's just having an issue. Like instead of being like, "Oh, congratulations," when they say they're getting married and start making out with each other in a really dramatic way, Blanche is like, "No, no, no." It's a very anti-love reaction.
Well, Uncle Lucas is breaking up the band, man, and Blanche basically played herself. She wasn't anticipating this to happen. Like you said, like they first did the proposal as a prank in front of everybody, but next time around, Lucas is like, "Will you marry me for real?"
Yeah, because they tell Blanche, they were like, "Look, this is all just like this," or no, they don't even tell her. This is what
They don't
happens
tell
at
her.
the end of the episode. They are talking about telling her, and she's eavesdropping and hears this. And then she comes out and Blanche gives this a great speech where she's like, "You know what? I'm not going to break this up because this is actually really love. Like you guys actually should be together. I'm going to raise a glass. You guys are the shit." And then Leslie himself, Uncle Lucas, for real, asks Dorothy to marry him. And that's that, Steve. They're getting married. We got a wedding to plan.
And then that was the first part. And at the beginning of this second, it's a time elapse of about 2 months. 2 months later, Dorothy and Lucas, they enter the house and thinks no one's home, so they're about to kiss, and Sophia pops out of nowhere like Randy Orton with the Polaroids.
She loves those Polaroids, Steve. And she's as giddy as a 60-year-old. Her daughter's getting married to this perfect sucker, son in law. And turns out she's going to get to move to Atlanta, Steve.
Yeah.
Statlanta, and she's going to live like a fat rat. All her dreams are coming true. And she didn't even have to fuck some gross old guy. This is just like a mother-daughter thing, and I love that for her.
Uncle Lucas and the Zabornaks coming to ATL, and yeah, after we find that out, now they think they have the house to themselves and they're about to kiss again. Sophia once again pops out with the Polaroids.
She's going to be at the honeymoon too, Steve. There's going to be some tawdry photos coming out of that thing if she's not careful. Um, the Rose and Blanche not handling it as well. Like you said, the band's breaking up, and now 2 months later, after the first episode, this is their last night together as a group in this house because tomorrow is the day of the wedding, Steve.
Yeah.
And you know, I do. They say something. Blanche says something about Lucas. She's like, he probably hasn't even had sex at all. It's so innocent. And Dorothy confirms that they have, in fact, had sex, and it was so good. They named that shit, Steve. They put a name
They,
on it.
they named it, Matt. And now it's Blanche and Rose outside. It's just them two talking. And Rose is somewhat mad at Dorothy. How can she do this? Like, you know what? Forget about it. With her gone, she can't intimidate us anymore. She can't harm us. And then they second guess, you know what? She can do all of those things. You know what? We're going to miss her. So they hug each other because they all they got. You know, Sophia's going to leave too. And while they're hugging, Sophia pops up again with the Polaroids.
And but she's like, she got bad sight, Steve. So she thought this was Dorothy and Uncle Lucas. It's not. And then when she realizes it's her two friends who are ladies, she's like, "What is this, Wimbledon?" Which I don't really understand the reference, but maybe it's a Monica
Oh,
Seles thing or a Martina Navratilova or something.
yeah, Billie Jean King. Yeah, at the time, you know, most of the top women tennis athletes were, you know, down for the scissor action. But and you know, that's what made Sophia jump to that conclusion. So Rose, she's actually going to move in with her daughter and her family, but she's not really feeling it because she doesn't want to feel like baggage. Like, what is my role going to be? Like, at least here, I feel like I'm needed. And Blanche even tells her that, like, hey, you always going to have a home here. I
Yeah,
need my best friend.
that's beautiful, Steve. And this is setting up the spinoff too, because wasn't that called the Golden Palace or something where those three live together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Cheech Marin and Don Cheadle.
I do like after because they kind of have this moment. They leave. I think they all kind of hug, but then like Sophia's left alone, and she looks at that Polaroid that she took of Blanche and Rose, and you can tell she's by herself, so she's not being all tough, and she's just as sad, and she's like, "Goodbye, my girls." She's really sad that it's all, nobody, they're not going to get to hang out anymore. I thought that was so sweet. It's a really sweet episode.
Yeah.
It's fucking tough, man.
Yeah, man, it's messing her up. And now we're at the actual day of the wedding. And Dorothy, she's solo dolo in the back of the limo. That's kind of weird for a bride to be solo on the way to the wedding, but she's giving the driver instructions. And it seems like the driver's not paying attention to her instructions. And eventually the driver turns around. It's none other than Stanley.
Stanley. Fucking Stan.
Fucking Stanley.
We know how much she hates Stanley, but Stanley, Steve, he needed a second. He needed to tell her some things. And they have a moment, and Dorothy admits like she's actually is very happy now. Like this wasn't expected, but she's super happy, and she basically forgives Stanley, who has been like this butt of every joke for her in this household about shitty men. And she tells him like, "Thank you." What does she say? "Thank you for acting like a man." And she loves, like they
Well, he
basically
gets
say, "I love you" for the last time.
he gets somewhat poetic, and he gives this metaphor for the single strand of hair on his forehead. And he's like, you see this hair? It's the only hair left on my forehead. It's clinging on for dear life. It's unrelenting. It's true, and it mocks me. But you know what? It reminds me of myself. I am that hair on my head, and you are my big forehead. And she's like, dude, are you trying to kidnap me? He's like, no, Dorothy, I'm trying to take you to your wedding in style, and it's my gift to you. And Also, have you slept with him yet? Stanley, how could you? We named it!
She at least gets that in. And I like that. For a shitty ex, just being like, yeah, and it's fantastic. So, bye. But good
Mm.
on Stanley. I don't know where he got the limo or the license to drive that limo, but you know what, Steve? Fuck it. It's a good
He's got
guy.
connections.
Now we're at the church, and Dorothy is being walked down the aisle by her mother, Sophia. And while this is happening, we sort of hear the inner thoughts of everybody, all the characters. Dorothy can't believe that this is happening. This is a beautiful moment. Look at this. I can't believe it. I think Sophia's planning some. I don't remember everybody's inner
She,
thoughts.
she, she's about to cry, but it's actually a sneeze. So she's keeping that rough exterior for now. Blanche says Dorothy looks beautiful, but then she starts having thoughts of jealousy. Then she starts thinking, if a woman as beautiful as her could feel jealous, what would a woman like Rose be thinking and feeling about Dorothy? And you go to Rose's inner thoughts, and she's just singing "Hi Ho the Dairy-O," Farmer in the Hill.
And she also interrupts like the vows too because they're like repeating like the language while they're putting the ring on, and she like finishes one of the sentences. It's very cute. But Lucas, you not only do you have a new love, but you got somebody who in a fight I feel like is an equal. You got a tag team
Yeah,
partner in life. So shout out to you.
yeah, you definitely got your fist partner right there, man. She'll hold it down, and she could probably pull off some good sleeper holds. But the reverend that's overseeing this ceremony, that's the same guy that played the dean of Princeton uh in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episode when like Carlton had threatened him for not letting them get in.
Oh, okay.
And
And I do like you hear his inner thoughts, and he's like, "Man, I am nailing it."
yeah, they laughing at my jokes. They feeling me, right?
So it's over, and Dorothy's married. She's hitched. She kisses they get the kiss, and Sophia finally sheds that tear. Steve, she's an old softie at heart, and that really comes through in this episode. So before the honeymoon or whatever's going to happen, we cut to later, and Dorothy's just doing some packing after the wedding, which I feel like is kind of not. Maybe this is way after the wedding, but I'd be fucking Steve. Dorothy packing.
Well, it's hard to let go of her girls, man. And she's talking to her mom, Sophia, and Sophia has second thoughts. She's actually not going to go to ATL, Uncle Lucas and Dorothy. She's going to stay there with the girls. She doesn't want to seem like baggage. She's her daughter's finally married. She's happy for her, and she wants her to live her life.
Yeah, and she says that maybe she overstepped in the first marriage with Stanley a little bit, and Dorothy gives like a very quick agreement to that, but she gets it. And it's for a sweet reason. She's like, my girls need me, I got these other daughters now that I got to take care of, which is so sweet, and I love that. Um, but Dorothy, she does try to fight for it, but she acknowledges that this is the right thing, and then it just gets into the goodbyes, and it's like, very, it's a tearjerker. Steve, she tells them how much they mean to her, Dorothy, I'm talking about, and how much of a privilege it's been to be their friends. It's beautiful. She leaves.
Angels,
Yeah, and then right back in, Steve.
right
She's
back
got to
in.
come back in. She's got to sneak in for another hug and more
One more,
goodbyes.
and then she goes out, and there's just sitting there. And then she comes from the side door and gives like another embrace and just gives more like words of wisdom in a Dorothy way, very sentimental. And this time she leaves for good, but they anticipate another surprise entrance, but it doesn't happen. When they realize that was that, they all start breaking down and they all hug each other, the remaining members.
That's it. So four become three. But I do have to go back real quick because Uncle Lucas comes and picks up Dorothy. And while he's waiting for her with the other girls, he's like, yeah, it's time to hit the road and get some Peterson. And they're like, what is that? And he's like, that's what we named it. and, and I feel like then later, Dorothy's leaving and she's getting her suitcase and she's like, "Ready, Freddy?" And everyone's like, "Oh,
Dorothy, Dorothy, they know.
bitch."
But
Dude,
man,
you know, here's I just gotta say it. One, I don't want to know what B. Arthur Nakaboots is like, but I'm just
oh,
speaking on
oh,
I'm
have
speaking on
mercy.
Leslie's behalf here. That man, dude, through like the 80s, maybe even the 70s, he's been prolific for a long time. Leslie Nielsen, I bet, was just tearing through Hollywood at one point or another. I hope that guy was some kind of legendary coxman because I love that for him if it was. I feel like he was because he's so charming. He's like a
Shit.
perfect timing, Steve, in all regards.
Yeah, man. Another legendary Canadian. I like to think that. And I feel like this is a proper send-off for a show. We may get a chance to talk about some other series finales that weren't as great as this one. We've covered quite a few
I
up
think
to
they
this
they
point.
nailed this because they had
Yeah.
this was a tall thing, and I think for me, it's tough to pull off like a tie it all up into a little bun, cheesy, happy ending. But for me, I mean, I maybe because I like cheese and I'm a sappy guy, but they had. I mean, I was fucking in, Steve. I felt like this was a good one.
Somebody has to move. That's usually always the case.
Yeah,
But
whether it's a marriage or whether it's a job, whatever it is.
yeah.
So Dorothy, she's in Statlander, Steve, just getting dick down on a farm someplace.
But yeah, we'll see him again later in that September when Golden Palace starts with Don Cheadle and Cheech Marin. Yeah, only for one season. But 2 years later, 1994, Fresh Prince is airing season 4, episode 24. Papa's got a brand new excuse. This is the one. Will's father Lou shows up after 14 years and spends a lot of time with Will. Will's very pleased with this. Uncle Phil, however, thinks Lou will again disappoint his son.
You want to bring Shredder out of fucking Uncle Phil, Steve? Just bring Uncle Lou into the room and he gets real fucking cold. I love that. But yeah, this is it. I really can't think of another very special other than Jesse Spano taking caffeine pills that just clocks in my head to the prolific level that this does.
Yeah. And there were no drugs involved. This wasn't about alcohol. This wasn't even sex related, which are more serious things. But man, for some reason, and I think this is personal, it just hit different. So we start the episode off. Will's working at the student union because he's a student there, and he can't help but notice a strange man staring at him. So he talks to Carlton like, dude, this guy has been staring at me for like, I don't know, the past hour or since I clocked in. And Carlton just suggests, why don't you go like and I don't know, try to break the awkwardness, break the ice. So he goes over there to try to make it less awkward by asking if he needed anything. And the man says, no, I'm fine, son. He goes back to Carlton and he says, I think that was my dad.
Boom, 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 boom. So yeah, and it was real creepy too. I mean, a guy just staring at you, smiling like that. I'd be like, "Fuck is this guy trying to fucking fuck?" Like, he looks a
Just say
little,
you're my dad, bro.
yeah, dude. Like, say something. And I also like Carlton. Will walks up and is like, "Man, you ever feel like people are just like you're being watched?" And Carlton's like, "Yeah, all the time, man. When you're this beautiful, you gotta have to get
Sure.
used to that." So.
It's not unusual.
So after the credits, Steve, Will's dad comes up and he's trying to play it cool. He's like, "Hey man, what's up? It's me, your dad." And Lou, you could tell obviously there's some bad blood here, but Will's trying to like play it cool, but he can tell he's just something's off. He doesn't like this. He's uncomfortable.
And we find out that Lou's a trucker now. And he was in the area, so he decided to stop by and see how his son was doing after 14 years. And, like you said, Will is trying to play it cool, like none of this affects him. And, as they're talking, they plan an outing for later that day and they part ways. And I don't think what was it Carlton that asked him, hey, you must have a roller coaster of emotions. And we was just like, oh man, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, man.
That's
So
cool,
Carl's just
dude.
like, hold me.
But Will does invite Uncle Lou to the house. And even Uncle Lou's like, man, I don't know if your mom, if Phil and Viv are gonna be cool with that. But I was like, guys, man, you're my guest. It's all good. And later, Will and Lou show up, and Vivian sees Lou. I mean, she almost falls out. She's like, hey, Will, Lou, the
What the
fuck are you doing? The reaction to everyone, like the adults see this guy is, the fuck are you doing here?
because they know the full story. Like, why didn't anybody tell me this? Well, I told Jeffrey, and he was supposed to tell you. Huh? I thought it'd be more fun this way.
This guy, how does he not get fired, Steve? In this episode alone, he's got a couple of burners where it's like, damn, dude, I would fire your ass. But I mean, he's right. It is more fun. I mean, from that standpoint, yes. But Aunt Vivian gets Will like alone. Is like, hey man, are you cool? Like, because this is crazy. This is fucked up. And he's like, yeah, it's fine, man. Like, it's totally cool. And Will's like, yo, man, do you think Uncle Phil's gonna be okay with this? And Aunt Viv's like, yeah, he'll be fine with it if I can tell him to not come home. But she doesn't get a hold of him, Steve. And Uncle Phil shows up, and it's not even, oh, hey, it's, what are you doing here? And I was nice about it. Uncle Phil, not. And Vivian, before it can get into just straight all out brawl situation, Vivian's like, yo, come here. You got to get out of here real quick. We got to talk.
And while that's happening, Lou meets the rest of the family. He gets to see Ashley for the first time since she was a baby, and little Nikki, and Hillary. And he takes little Nikki. He's like, you know what, Will? I used to hold you like this. If Hillary asks, why'd you leave him?
She gets him a couple times. She's like, where were you like this whole time? You know, he's like, ah, shit. Oh, is that little Ashley? You were only this big when I saw you. It's like, well, that was like fucking 11 years ago, bro. Like, you should just shut the fuck. Say less, Lou. You're making yourself look bad. But Phil comes back in. He tries to play nice for a minute, but he's like, you know what? I think I'm going out upstairs because I lost my appetite. I don't need any fucking dinner. Bye. And he leaves. So we cut, and I thought this is such a sweet little, how innocent Will is. We cut to like a carnival or something. And Will and Lou, Steve, old buddies. They're hanging out. They're having a good old time. And Lou even is like, look, Will, let me just tell you, I fucked up. I felt trapped. I was young. I was dumb. I was selfish. My fault. But I'm here now. And
I'm a different man.
Yeah. And Will's not very sure about, he's like, okay, he's kind of like not really saying much. But then Lou's
he's letting
like,
him make it.
Yeah, he's trying to say, he's not being like, shut up, I don't want to talk about it. So Lou's like, you know what, man? Like, I used to play ball too. He's trying to like just be the old man, play cool thing. He's like, let me show you a little something, son. And he starts sinking shots in that little basketball carnival game. And this is what's so sweet. Some little kid looks over at Will and is like, wow, he's really good. And Will's like, that's my dad.
That's my dad. That little kid is Shorty Doo-Wop from Martin. I didn't want to go to Arizona, Martin. Oh, I didn't want to go to Arizona, Martin. That's also Miles from Moesha, Moesha's little brother.
Yeah, so I thought that was hilarious. He's my dad. It's like, man, Will.
That's my dad, man. You don't look anything like that.
We come back to the house now. And Aunt Viv is actually talking to Will's mom on the phone, I believe. And, she's going through some things, but you hear her admit, she's like, oh, yeah, Lou, yeah, he's still fine. She says he's hot, which I don't see it, Viv, but...
Did she say that? I thought she was saying like he's balding and he's like got a protruding stomach or something. I don't know. Maybe I listened to it different.
Maybe I thought she said he was hot, but maybe I just put that in my head because I like that. But as they're talking, Will and Lou show up from just their daddy son fucking hangout, and they're just having a
Yeah.
great fucking time, Steve. They're just right back to square one. Son and
By
father.
the way, like when you're trying to reconnect with your teenage son, maybe take him to a strip joint, not like Chuck E. Cheese Funland Factory or some shit. Uh, but I digress.
Smoke a blunt with them.
Yeah, you get him a whore. But by the time they come back,
All right, little Boosie, Steve. Get him a whore.
get him a whore. You can bond over that, choo choo. But by the time they come back to the house, they have a game plan for the summer. Will's going to go on the road with his trucking dad, going to go from Los Angeles to Maine.
Forget it. Well, Phil ain't having it, Steve. Trucking? No. I'm a fucking lawyer in Bel-Air. You're going to be a trucker? You think that's cool? I'd be offended just for that. I'd be like, you'd rather be in a truck. You know what that means? Smelling Ben Marine's nutsack all day in a fucking semi-truck? Fuck that.
Yeah, is this the same truck he fucked extras from The Wiz from? Is that his Zoobly Zoo costume when he was the fucking lion or some shit? But Uncle Phil, it's a hard sell for him throughout this episode because he's like, man, that shit is not going down, not on my watch. That dude's full of shit. He's gonna come back into your life after 15 years or 14. Oh, I'm sorry, 14. He's not even doing this for you. He's doing this for him and his selfish ego.
And Lou tries to say something, but Phil looks over and is like, shut the fuck up. This is a family discussion. So why don't you go outside? I mean, just bitches everyone out, which I love.
It's
and Will tries to sort of check Phil for doing this, but Phil's like, and goes through what you said. And he basically says every truthful thing possible, like you said. But Will basically is like, look, dude, like I've been waiting my whole fucking life for this. Like, you're not going to tell me shit and you're not my fucking dad, Uncle Phil.
And Uncle Phil definitely feels a certain way. Rightfully so, because ever since Will moved to Bel-Air, he's taken him in as his own son. And over time, they've garnered this relationship, character development and all of that, man. So now he's licking his wounds, and Uncle Phil feels somewhat apologetic, even though he felt validated in what he said. He feels like he overstepped the lines because that is his father and that is his son.
Yeah, I mean, for real, like in a real way, that it just is what it is. Like he might not like it, but it's not his choice to be, saying you can't reconnect with your father. Like obviously it's not. So he realizes that. We cut to later after all this happens, and Jeffrey, he tries to get some comfort from Jeffrey. And here's another area where Jeffrey could possibly be fired because he's like, let me tell you a little limerick from my childhood. And it's something about the fat, rich people dying and the servants taking over, something crazy like that, which isn't very comforting. Then Hillary comes in and she's like, Dad, I totaled the MasterCard. And usually that would be like a speech, a discussion. But Phil's like, what? Oh, okay, here, just take another
Here's
one.
Another
and just
card.
like unfolds, gives her the keys to the fucking kingdom. So Ashley sees this, is like, what the fuck is going on? And she gets something. I think she gets like a later curfew, I believe.
That or the car keys or something.
And she tries to get something else, and Carlton, like, she's like, you like, don't hog it all for yourself. And he tries to get something, but Phil like takes Carlton aside. He's like, do you think I'm a good dad? Like, do you think I'm a good person? And Carlton says, yeah, you're the best. And also what would make you the best is just maybe giving me a little bit of access to that trust fund. And Phil's like, shut up, hell no. He snaps
I hate
out of
you.
it for that. But Phil's just like, I can't fucking believe Will would talk to me like this. Like you said, I've done so much. And Viv just basically says what you said, Steve. That she spells it out. She's like, "You're being fucking selfish. This ain't your call. So it might be a
Yeah.
tough pill to swallow, but you got to swallow it because that's his dad. So deal with it." And then we cut to the pool house. Will's getting ready for his thing, his summer abroad in the truck, and Carlton's getting ready for his summer in the pool house by just redecorating and just planning that while Will's packing, Steve.
By the way, is that Michael Bolton picture in your Michael Bolton book?
I wish I had it. I don't have that up here right now, but yeah, dude. I mean, love the Mikey Bolton just fucking gigantic poster, and I'm sure that might be the cover of the fucking book, Steve.
Okay, that clocks.
But
But
I love that. Carlton's like, yeah, man, that's crazy. Your dad's here. That's awesome. But like, hey, can you hold this tape measure real quick? 12 feet. All right. I can definitely get a hot tub in here.
you don't need all these hats, do you? Well, they're getting off the wall right now.
And Phil comes in and, Will, like, Carlton, like, kind of leaves and Will says he's sorry, and Phil's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I meant what I said, but I'm sorry. Like, that's not my call. I'm being selfish, but I do. He is a piece of shit. I just have to flatly state that out just so you hear it.
Being an habitual line stepper.
Yeah. And they have a hug. And, as Uncle Phil's leaving, I think Will kind of feels like this is like some heavy energy in here. He's like, yo, like, Uncle Phil, you realize it's just for the summer, right? Like, that's all this is. And Uncle Phil kind of like looks at him and just kind of like nods his head and just walks out. So, you never know. It's a big change.
And what happens next is one of the most heart-tuggingest scenes in sitcom history, not just from the 90s, but damn it, it just hits you. It pierces right through the aorta. God damn it. So Lou, he shows up and he brings the news that, you know what, I just caught a lick. I got a lick that I'm going to get 5 racks, 5 thou wow, if I can drive from LA to Maine. But I'm going to need a second driver and I don't have the room. So, man, I got to tell Will that I'm going to rain check on it. And immediately, I feel like Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil were anticipating this because they always knew Lou was full of shit.
But I like Uncle Phil first before Aunt Viv goes into it. He's like, oh, okay, he can't ride with you? Let me buy him a plane ticket to Maine real quick. Yeah. That's cool. You won't have to, it'll just meet you up in Maine. That's cool. And of course, Lou's like, man, there might be another gig after that, man. You know how it is, Uncle Phil.
I need room for my horse.
Yeah. Phil tries to get Vivian to leave because he's like, look, Viv, get out of here real quick. And Viv's like, I'm not gonna let you assault this man. Like, kid, you might kill this dude. But Vivian looks at Lou and is like, look, if you disappoint him and leave, you better never come back because I'll stab your ass. I will slit your fucking throat. She doesn't say that.
Shit's about to get real. She doesn't say that, but shit's about to get real, though.
But then Phil looks at Lou. He's like, hey, Lou, sit down. And Lou's like, come on, Lou. And Shredder comes out of Uncle Phil. He's like, sit down, Lou. Get your ass down. It's fucking Nino Brown's his ass. And
ass down.
Lou's just, he's a scumbag. He's like, man, you know how it is, man. Like, I love him, but I just had to do this. And Phil just is like, you're a piece of shit. And Lou is a piece of shit enough to go like, hey, man, you know what? I am. You're better than me. You're a better dad than I am. Cool. Can you take the kid? Won. You got him. So please can you just tell, I'm going. And one last thing, can you please do me a favor, which you don't owe me, and just tell him for me that I'm not going to be there, that I've left and I'm not going to come. He's not going to go on the strip. Just tell him for me. Is that cool? And Phil's like, oh God.
I'm not going to do your dirty work for you. You know what? Since I am a piece of shit, I'll call him. And as he's leaving, Will catches him. Hey, Daddy, yo, what's up? And then Lou breaks the news to him. You know what? I'm glad you're here, man. Bullshit. Some business came up I got to handle. So we're going to have to put our trip on hold. You understand? It's like, you
Oh,
know what?
okay,
Yeah.
cool, cool. And
Yeah.
now Will's turned off. He's realized that he's been had. Now he has to turn into a robot. Can't show the emotion. He's like, yeah, man, it's cool. Like, yeah, of course. I'm sure I'll see you soon. Well, Lou. And it's fine, man. But you could tell, like, he's dying inside. He's just trying to put on the front.
Because now he refers to him in the first name. You too, Lou.
Take a walk, Lou. I wish fucking Uncle Phil would have just came over and fucking Jazzy Jeffed his ass. That's how Lou leaves the fucking premises. He just gets fucking hauled off.
Back to the yellow brick road.
But now they have a shattered child in front of them, and Uncle Phil's like, Will, and before like he can say anything else, Will just starts like unraveling. He's like, no, man, it's cool, man. Like, he's fine, man. Like, I don't even care about it. I'm gonna grow up. I'm gonna get a good job. I'm gonna have a fucking fine ass honey for a wife, and man, fucking man. But
Yeah.
this is where he says it, Steve. He first
man.
says like he ain't gonna. That man can never teach me anything about how to love my kid, or he says something like that, and then he just goes, "Oh,
but what I love about this, man, like, even though Uncle Phil feels a certain way, he knows how important this is and how hurt his nephew is. So he just lets him have the floor. He has his words of wisdom, as Uncle Phil always does. But man, he knows in this moment that boy has to get all of this out. He has to get all of these words, all these feelings, all of these thoughts out, and he just lets them run, man. And after he's just run out of juice, he's just swinging at the air. The big embrace, man, and instantly, it's just like I said, just wow.
And as they're hugging, they're crying. Will had bought Lou a present, which we kind of pan down to, which is like this statue of a father sort of embracing a son. It's very like poignant. Yeah.
Like spooning his son. Yeah.
But I mean, got me. I knew it was coming, Steve. Got me. And then I was reading on M-Dubs. Ben Vereen broke into tears as he walked away, like on the backstage. Hillary, apparently, you can audibly hear her break into tears backstage. Yeah. But this was just like a huge thing. They pulled it off, and I think Will Smith said, a lot of this was just like how I think he felt about his dad, like because he did have like a lot of those issues. So it was basically just this was a real sort of very close to the surface thing for him that made, I think it added a lot to this for everybody. I mean, everybody was, these are like real reactions. It's pretty crazy.
Seriously, man. It's one of those things where they just let the camera run, man. They might have went off script a little bit, but damn, that shit hit. And a lot of people could relate to this, man. Your father was away for various reasons, but ultimately just being a deadbeat. But this is actually considered the highest rated episode of the series, man, and rightfully so, because it's sweeps season.
How come he don't want me, man? God, Steve. But I will say, this episode of this show made me hate Ben Vereen with a passion. Yeah. I don't wish any ill will on the man, but I don't want to meet him. And I feel like if I saw him in public, I'd be like, man, fuck you, just because I have this stuck so deep in my heart,
Yeah. Watch some episodes of Zoobilee Zoo on YouTube. Maybe that'll help change your opinion of Ben Vereen. That's not fair to him. And I get it. This is an iconic role, a very iconic episode, man. But, run through The Wiz a couple times. Okay. He's on down. But yeah, 1997, May 9th, Father's Day premieres in theaters. A woman cons two old boyfriends into searching for her runaway son by convincing both that they are the boy's father. Directed by Ivan Reitman, starring Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Natasha Kinski, Charles Rocket, Sugar Ray, Mel Gibson, and Patty D'Arbanville.
Mel Gibson's in it?
For a scene.
Okay.
First,
Well,
yeah.
it looks funny. I mean, it's got Robin Williams. It's in the '90s, so you know the comedy's going to be kicking, and it's got Billy Crystal in the '90s too. And I'm not a huge Billy Crystal fan. He's not my biggest cup of tea, but you know, he's passable. I think this movie has some fucking. It's got a few laughs in it, Steve.
Some I respect Billy Crystal. He serves his purpose. I just it's kind of cringe because the lady that's basically running game on Billy Crystal and Robin Williams, man, uh, she's playing an evil game. Like she knows neither of them are the father, and she basically have them go on this wild goose hunt. And the son is a simp. He basically chased his girlfriend, who's following Sugar Ray on tour. They get to the Sugar Ray concert, and all she wants to do is make out with that dreamy Mark McGrath.
Mark, I'll suck your dick, Mark. Scotty, isn't his name Scotty too, Steve? Isn't his son's name
I,
Scotty?
I believe so. And Scotty, you have no chance against Mark McGrath. That girl wasn't
No.
yours. It was just your turn.
But you get to hang out with Billy Crystal and Robin Williams. Um, you get to puke on them. At one point, you're in a shower with Robin Williams being showered off, which is weird.
Yeah,
Is it Billy Crystal married to Julia Louis Dreyfus in this? Yeah,
that she is, and she's hot as always, man.
sexy. Yeah,
I,
shout out.
I find it kind of ironic and it's sad that Robin Williams at the beginning of this movie, his character is somewhat suicidal, and if that ain't art coming to life, man. And the fact that Charles Rocket is in it too, and I've mentioned him before, he actually committed suicide in real life. But the lieutenant from New York Undercover, she's Scott's girlfriend's mom, and she plays a different role. She's definitely not like a lieutenant or a cop. She's basically kind of like she's like a wannabe MILF.
Mm, Cooper, Lieutenant
Uh,
Cooper's. Hey, Charlie's Angel. She's out there.
yeah,
This is a I didn't remember everything about this, but it's got its moments, and it like I said, I mean, I'm a huge Robin Williams fan, so if it's something like this, it's a kind of a he has his he's the good because essentially these guys are searching for this kid. They find out they're looking for the same kid, so like, what the fuck's going on?
yeah.
And hijinks ensues. They find the kid, they're with the kid. Julia Louis Dreyfus is pissed off at Billy Crystal. You know, there's some funny moments in this. Was it the best thing in the world? Absolutely not. But it'll get you an hour and a half of some giggles.
I liked it better than this next one. 1997, on that same day, The Fifth Element premieres in theaters. In a colorful future, a cab driver unwittingly becomes the central figure in the search for a legendary cosmic weapon to keep evil and Mr. Zorg at bay. Directed by Luke Besson, starring Bruce Willis, Gary Oldman, Ian Holm, Chris Tucker, and Mila Jovovich.
And you didn't like this.
Jovovich.
You didn't like this movie.
Didn't care for it, man. I never got into science fiction shit in general. So, to be fair, I think with the exception of The Matrix or Back to the Future, but I don't care for this at all. The wardrobe annoyed me. I like realistic things, Matt. Uh,
Okay.
that's why give me the Spikes, the Scorseses, the Tarantinos, some shit that can actually happen. But I thought Chris Tucker was going to be an integral part in this movie, and I didn't even see the guy until like an hour or so into it. Like I've already lost focus at that point, man.
Yeah, I ain't got no fire. I ain't got no fire.
The hairdo, I
Uh,
hated it.
I mean, I could see you not. If you don't like science fiction, then you're not going to like this movie because that's all it is. But I liked it. I think Luke Besson, this is probably what people would say is his best movie. The special
Absolutely.
effects are great. Um, I love Bruce Willis. Gary Oldman is very weird in this. Everything is very weird, but I do think the special
Yeah.
effects are really good. The creatures in it are really good. The story's kind of strange, but I I like it. So I don't know how much more to say. You can't really explain it very quickly, but Bruce Willis is a great action. He's still killing it. He's got a weird look. But he's Bruce Willis in the future. It's fucking John McClane. If it's the year 3000, and Chris Tucker's some kind of weird radio intergalactic DJ that looks like a Prince extra or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if he likes guys. He like was he supposed to be like a icon, a music icon or some shit?
He's like downtown Julie Brown, but in the future, I guess. Because he bangs a
Very
chick on the ship, Steve. I don't know if you remember that, but he bangs one
yeah.
of the stewardesses. So, I think he's just sexually fluid. He is integral to the movie because he helps them figure out how to get the little stone things to work. Because I ain't got a fire, and he figures that out. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I can't really say too much else other than that. I
Yeah.
like it. If you like science fiction, check it out because I think it's like, I think a lot of people, this is an inspiration for science fiction now. I think the look, the vibe, some of the I don't know, that kind of thing was probably inspired a lot of people. But I could see it being sort of a lackluster experience if you're not into science fiction. So whatever, Steve. To each his own.
Yeah, disclaimer: you have to like science fiction to enjoy this movie. There's
Can
no
I
other way around it.
can I tell you a weird fact that I found out about this and reading about it? Just because I wanted to bone up my knowledge about this to defend against what I thought was going to be your attacks. And I don't know if this is going to make you like the movie more or not, because I thought this was kind of weird. But in this, Mila Jovovich is like, she's a god or like something, but she speaks this weird like gobbledygook language called the divine language throughout, where she's like, like that.
Like Bjork.
Steve, that language, the director and her created this language. It's got 200 words. It has a lot, and they spoke this and wrote in this language together throughout the filming of this movie. So I don't know if that impresses you or you think that's weird or it's like,
No,
okay.
no. Why would you think like? Thank you for your attempt. Thank you for your deep digging. I applaud your efforts. But like, no, like that. The last ditch attempt. I'm sorry, Matt. The door's closed. Like, if this is what the future is going to be like, shoot me in the dick and face now.
Well,
I
can I
hate it.
give you one more fun fact that might make you like it a little bit more?
I like Bruce Willis, but go ahead.
Luke Besson, the director of this movie, and I didn't even know this. He wrote this movie when he was in high school, and he hid the script until he was an older man, and he got to make it as an old man. So, Steve, come on, give the guy a little.
It shows.
It's
It shows. Like, yeah, of course you wrote it in high school. Like, yeah.
I ain't got no fire, Steve.
I got no more patience. I really wish I can get that 2 hours of some change back in my life, man. And it kind of reminded me of this next film, also in 1997, called Nowhere, because that's exactly where the film went. Follows a day in the lives of a group of Los Angeles high school students and the strange lives they lead. Directed by Greg Araki, starring James Duvall, Rachel True, Debbie Mazar, Christina Applegate, Guillermo Diaz, Jason Simmons, Ryan Phillippe, Heather Graham, Scott Kahn, Mita Savari, Shannon Doherty, Beverly D'Angelo, John Ritter, Rose McGowan, Eve Plum, Christopher Knight, Charlotte Ray, David Lejour, Tracy Lords, and Stacy Keenan. Still fucking hot as shit.
This reminds me, remember that movie in the 2000s called Go?
This is the go that couldn't go.
Okay. But you remember what I'm talking about, because this movie kind of reminds me a little bit of that, where it's just a lot of young celebrities, kind of a weird story, a lot of sex and drugs.
Yeah, very weird. They are all over the place. They take us around the corner just to go next door. And it had promise when I read it on paper because of all those names I mentioned. But damn it, I don't even think we got a titty in this. And even if we did it, give it back.
That's crazy, because if you watch the preview, it's super sexual looking. Like, I think there's people making bust faces like multiple times in it. John Ritter looks like a rapist, like porn director. What's going on here? The kid from Independence Day is in it. Randy Quaid's Indian son's in it. Fucking having some, I don't know who he's fucking. It might be a guy, it might be a chick. I don't know. I don't know what was
Johnny
going on.
Redcorn. Yeah, dude. Like, In the opening scene, Johnny Redcorn or Joseph from King of the Hill, he fucking has a homoerotic scene where he's like in the shower and he's like daydreaming about like busting on chicks, busting on dudes, busting on his best friend. And it's like, man, this is how we kicking this off with all of these people, and they still have careers even after. Like, I applaud you.
So Stacy Keenan, you said it's a blink and you miss it appearance where she's like a some kind of a hood rat, which I let's explore
Yeah,
that a little bit, you know?
and it's really for 2 seconds. She's wearing like a little skimpy outfit, and she walks by, kind of like a little Fanta girl or like a Lil Kim cosplay. It's like, I like this for you, Stacey Keenan. This is the Stacey I see every day. And Christina Applegate, I don't know if this was a conscious decision, but she goes against type, and she's not the hot Kelly Bundy. She decides to put on braces. She's still dim-witted like Kelly, but like, I don't know. She's just weird and off-putting.
That does she looks like Jaws' fucking daughter from James Bond. I don't like the metal mouth.
Or that or Claire Danes.
Fucking yeah.
Just
I hate these movies. This was a movie that would have pissed me off when I was young because looking at it, you're like, well, there's gonna be a bunch of titties and fucking in this. So this is a jack off movie for sure, for sure. And then by the end, you're like, I don't even know what I watched, and there's nothing. I'm flaccid here. What's going on?
you see the look on Scarface's face? Like,
Yeah,
that's how I was looking at this movie the whole time. What the
man.
fuck am I watching?
Guillermo Diaz's look has changed so much over the years. Like here, he almost looks like Antonio Banderas. For like, if you squint, like I don't know, chiseled jaw. Now he looks weird. He's fucking looks like Bob Hoskins almost. He's really the shit's fucking gone downhill a little bit.
Like, is that the guy from Pop Copy? Hell yeah, girl, I suck toes. Welcome to Pop Poppy. Can I take your order? Fuck. But yeah, also in 1997, no, we're Underworld. Yeah,
Yeah,
Underworld premieres,
yeah.
man, and
See? How'd you
another
forget
hop of shit.
that?
Yeah, like I wish I did. Just spending 7 years behind bars, Johnny Crown is back on the street with lots of cash, a psychotherapy degree, and a burning desire to find and punish gangsters who had killed his father. One of the people involved is Frank Gavillion, who unwillingly follows Johnny in his demonical and ultraviolet crusade. Directed by Roger Christian, starring Dennis Leary, Joe Mantegna, Annabella Sciorra, Tracy Lords again, and Abe Vigoda.
Okay, okay. I like my beers American. Okay, okay. I watched the preview for this, Steve, and some of it looked like a porno. It didn't look well shot. I like Joe Mantegna. I mean, everyone loves Joe Mantegna, so you got that.
I
But
like Tracy Lords, Ohio representative, and I like Abe Vigoda. He was in Godfather and Goodfellas. Like, he was old that whole time.
Dennis Leary, Steve, I'm good. I'll
You
pass.
lost me.
Jim
And
Serpico, I like, he's good in, like I said in our text thing, he's good in the ref, he's good in the MTV ads, and he's good for 5 minutes in this movie called Suicide Kings. And other than that, I'm good. I'm good.
but it does have titty at the beginning. It has gratuitous titty, but
Okay.
it's like you said, man. The production, it looked like the shit was ran on CBS.
They paid Joe Mantegna all the money.
That's got to be what it
I'm
is.
gonna need a new suit. What a cool guy. I feel like Joe Mantegna, one, he's got a name so similar to one of the goats of all time, Joe Montana, that you'd be like, man, that's got to be tough. Somehow, he's cool. He's cooler, I think.
Yeah.
Joe Montana, he'll fuck your bitch. He could be the head of a gang, or he could just, take you out to a nice Italian dinner. And I just feel like I love Joe Montana, and I'm just gonna leave it at that, Steve.
Yeah, just like Clint Howard, man. In 1999, WCW is airing Slamboree 1999, and yeah, the end is not near. The end. We're on the other side of the end, and just we're just waiting on that call from the McMahon family at this point.
It's just flatline. We're waiting for the doctor to call the time of death at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Because the joke throughout the 90s was that, all the old guys go to WCW. These are fossils. And here we are, 1999. One of the matches in this pay-per-view, God bless them, Hot Rod Roddy Piper and Ric Flair. And, this would have been great in the 80s, maybe even in the early 90s. This is 1999. And also, one of the matches was Charles Robinson, the referee, versus Gorgeous George, one of Macho Man's proteges. That's how desperate we are in WCW land.
Does the ref have? Is he? What is going on there? Did they give him like a dip in a tanning solution, or?
Well, the storyline, he's like a stand for Ric Flair. So Ric Flair is kind of taking him under his wing, showing him the way, the four horsemen way. And he's doing all the strutting and the wooing and all this. But dude, this is a referee in a match with a protege. Like, this is a slot that you reserve for your pay-per-view. Meanwhile, on the other side, you got the Dudley Boys against Edge and Christian and Rock and Stone Cold and puppies. Like, man, take this L, Bischoff. And you're a legend, but damn it, that uphill battle is just getting steeper and steeper at this point.
You've smacked into the wall. It's done.
Throwing that white flag, but
that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, but hey, shout out to the ref for trying. You gonna try to do a Ric Flair impersonation on a fucking pay-per-view? That's a tough ask. So you got to give the guy some credit for the balls, at least.
It's got people that we admire, people we adore, but it's just not working, man.
Macho though, look at Macho. He's got his little bitch over there hanging out.
Keep some holes in my stable, brother. Mm-hmm.
I love
but
that.
Any callbacks, honorable mentions, or takeaways, Doc?
It's actually apropos to this, Steve. It's very Macho Man related, and I gotta apologize to you because I watched the sensational Sherry Dark Side of the Ring. Got a new respect for the lady, Steve. One, they showed some images of her early on where sensational Sherry could definitely have gotten it, and I apologize. The makeup always affected me, but this woman abandoned everything for wrestling. She just was a road dog from the beginning, to the point where her husband on that documentary was like, yeah, it was fucking like, we had a great life. And all of a sudden she's just like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. I got to go wrestle. And he's just completely cool with it. He's like, yeah, she was a fucking legend. Sucked, but like, damn, dude, this guy's super cool about it.
Yeah, her son was a good sport about it, because like obviously you could tell something was going on. I think he lost part of his tongue from cancer or something. Yeah. But like, even when she was alive, she was very apologetic about running out on the family to pursue her dreams. And I don't know any kid who has this kind of presence of mind. Like, even then he was like, I forgive you. Like, I get it. Like, this is a part of the business.
Yeah, he's like, she left me to become a legend, and she was. Yeah. I was like, damn, dude, this guy. And you're right, he has like a lot going on. Son's got a lot going on. So yeah, dude. Shout out to, rest in peace to Alleged, Sensational Sherry, one of the ultimate divas, somebody that I've made fun of in the past, and I'm gonna stop doing that, Steve. I'm sorry.
Now you seeing what I was trying to convey to you.
Growth. It's growth, Steve. I see the error of my ways. So a good man admits that, and that's what I'm doing right now. So, but what about you?
I got some.
Do you have any amends to make to me? I mean, is there any apologies coming my way, or what's going on here?
Well, first, I want to thank you for being a friend. Okay. But also, man, in 1992, Howard Stern is airing The Last Tonight Show. And, Howard was always David Letterman's bro. That was his dog. So when Letterman didn't get that spot, it was already like instant hate. Like, which side, pick a side. I'm with the gang. And so the whole episode is about spoofing the Tonight Show. And it has one of my favorite comedic elements in it, as Howard as Johnny is interviewing like an old time actress, and he's just talking shit to her, and he's telling her to shut up. And then they do a quick cut. He picks her up, and it's a mannequin. It's so obvious. And he's like takes her and does like a Superman spin and throws her out of the set. And it's available on YouTube. Got to check it out, man. Yeah, instant. And you know, this is spring's season, man. So they got to pull out the very special episodes and the cameos and guest star appearances and shit. So Living Single, it's a two-parter. Overton proposes to Sinclair, and as they're doing a midnight stroll in the carriage in New York, they get robbed by Bobcat Goldthwait. So I guess that was their entry into this spring's
What a terrifying person you're in. Ah! Oh my God. Well, that's gonna live with you for the rest of your life. That's gonna be PTSD, but good for Bobcat.
and yeah, and I just want to mention, man, 1997, Family Matters, they're airing A Pirate's Life for me, and that's just unfortunate. That just shows where they were at that point. It's basically like Steve, with one of his inventions, taking them back in time without the flux capacitor, and they're fucking pirates. How do we get here, Matt? They're fucking pirates. Like, speaking of Family Matters, I saw the Dark Side of the 90s episode they had on Family Matters, available on Hulu. And you see, like, it's a reason why they have it on there. I didn't realize how dark, like, some of the shit they dealt with was. Like, of course, I knew about little Judy. You know, they sent her upstairs and she never came back down. But like, Urkel was kind of like feeling himself kind of a little too hard, because she mentioned that like she couldn't remember one of her lines. She remembers vividly one specific scene where she had to do many retakes. And Jaleel White is off in the corner somewhere. It's like, she can't fucking act. And she heard that, and it just like shattered her shit in front of this television
Damn.
audience. Yeah, man. So
Steve!
I recommend. But
Wow, dude. But are you? I'm not really surprised by that, honestly. Like, that guy got to the upper echelon of fame, so like, there's got to be a little bit of diva in there somewhere, you know?
shit, this is my show, goddamn. Like, I hate that that happened, man, because I like to think of him in a better light. But please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please tell your sister, thank you for being a bitch. Dun, 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 you damn cunt. Please check out Food Show Fanatics with my buddy Matt G and Kendra B. Also, Crushgasm every Wednesday with Kendra B. And our guy, Clark the Shire, on podcast. Oh, this is Steve G and Matt G with Happen
in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the flat kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.